Before we start this video, this one is a real gamer tutorial. You must be able to drag click at least 30 CPS and jitter 15 to watch this video, or else. I'm kidding obviously, but this video will be far more advanced than my Techno and Dream vids since those were more basic beginner tutorials. I also want to clarify that I made that video mostly as a joke, if I'm being honest. At least the Techno one was. I love Techno as a content creator. I've watched his content for 5+ years, but I always loved him for his commentaries and not necessarily his PvP. He's far past his prime when it comes to PvP. He's just been chilling on Dream SMP and farming in Skyblock for the past year, so how's he supposed to keep up with the 30 CPS 14-year-old drag clickers? Let's be real, man. I still love that video and I'm so grateful for the support on it, but just clarifying this since a lot of people were making fun of me in the comments. Anyway, going back to this video, just don't be alarmed when I start spitting out words that sound like Elon Musk's kid's name. This video will include some crazy techniques which you probably haven't heard of. Now let's begin by looking at our topics. First, we'll look at build UHC and other forms of rod PvP, then we'll look at pot PvP, and then finally games like Bedwars and Skywars. To start with rod PvP, I'd like to actually explain how rods work. If you don't know already, just think of the rod as an extra long arm that does no damage itself. It's only there to set up combos, but has no actual use in getting more damage itself. You can use the rod to hit them before engaging by stopping their momentum, letting you get the actual first hit, and then hopefully a nice combo. To cover the basics super quickly, you usually want to throw your rod just before getting into your opponent's hit range. Even after consuming PvP related content for 5+ years, I still don't know why it works, but I think of it like this. Whenever you're slower than your opponent, your reach gets shortened just slightly. Whether they place a block in front of you like in Bedwars or throw a snowball at you in Skywars, this shortened range gives your opponent a split second to close the gap into your 3-block hit range and then start a combo. This is why rods are so important in PvP, as if you're good enough, you can stop someone from touching you ever. Although that's interesting and all, most people already know this, that PvP a lot. So let's look at something that most people don't know. Let's take a look at rod tricking. For such a useful and insane tech, it's almost never talked about in the Minecraft community. When I say rod tricking, I don't mean just rodding before you set up a combo. I literally just talked about this 20 seconds ago, bro. Literally pay attention. This is different. A rod trick is this strange glitch where if your rod connects with your opponent just before you attack, you will deal 2 hits in a really quick succession. If you combine this with a crit, you'll be able to do 2 crits for 1, which is seriously overpowered and can shred your opponent. I looked everywhere and the only possible explanation I found was from years ago on the Badline forums. Some dude said the game gets confused and registers the rod as a sword hit as well, so it deals 2 sword hits almost instantly. It's a really cool tech that not enough players use. It is really hard to pull off in practical 1v1 situations though, unless you're actually good, but it can be amazing if you get the jump on someone. I really only use it when someone's gapping or looting in Skywars since they are mostly stationary and it's easier to set it up when you have the jump on them. If you face any good rod users, just watch out for them jumping at you and throwing the rod midair, as that's them trying to land a rod trick which will deal insane damage. Another tech that I want to quickly mention is the infinite rod. If you don't know, you basically just throw out your rod, switch to any other slot, then go back to your rod, and it'll be reeled back and have no durability lost. In most duels or Skywars games, you can probably get away with rodding by just right-clicking, but in games that can take longer, like a full-on UHC, where rods can break easily after lots of fights, it's super necessary to make sure your rod doesn't break mid-fight. Yo, quick intermission to tell you guys to all sub. Literally 90% of you guys weren't subbed when you watched my most recent videos. Let's pretend it's like find the button in Minecraft, right? You know, it's so easy. Oh, also, last thing, just quickly follow my Twitter. Anyway, bye guys. Before I begin this section, I'd like to mention basically all the gameplay is coming from my good friend Socks. He has his own YouTube channel where he posts amazing content. His links are all in the description. He was kind enough to send some sick clips over for this section, so please take the time to check him out. For pot, sprint canceling is huge. If you're playing pot, you're probably on Lunar or Mindman, which has very linear KB compared to Hypixel. On Hypixel, if you literally W tap once, you get sent all the way to Africa. So, like literally, if you're confused why no debuff is the most popular game on more competitive practice servers, but has a literal negative amount of people playing it on Hypixel, it's because of the garbage KB. You literally look like a Smash character at 300% with the way you fly. It's insane how random and laggy Hypixel KB can be sometimes. Sprint canceling, for those that don't know, is stopping your sprint in some way which allows you to deal more knockback. Every hit after your first deals way less knockback, so by W tapping, where you quickly let go of W, S tapping, where you let go of W then press S for a bit, or block hitting, you can reset your sprint. Dealing more knockback helps a ton, as you can hit people off cliffs or maintain a nice combo, since if you just hold W the whole time, you'll eventually run into them, which lets them easily reach you and ruins your combo. Blockhitting in the context of PvP is specifically timing one right click between hits to cancel your sprint for a very short time. You do it by right clicking on top of your left click and only doing one quick right click, not spamming it like you see old PvPers do. The only way I can see you using the old blockhitting is if you're in an enclosed space, as blockhitting in small rooms, especially in holes, is always going to be the meta. You'll see the new blockhitting done by almost all the best pot PvPers, although lots just mix it up and do W tapping, S tapping, and blockhitting depending on the situation they're in. Although if you do manage to do W tapping, S tapping, and blockhitting at the same time, you'd probably go full avatar state and just destroy your enemy. For real though, blockhitting is super powerful in pot since it lets you fully focus on your strafes to keep around 3 blocks from your enemy. To properly hold a combo, you need to be able to get within 3 blocks of your enemy to hit them without getting too close. If you watch any good pot PvPer play with reach display on, you'll probably see that once they get a combo, all their hits stay at around 3 blocks. Honestly, someone that has an actual brain should seriously test this. Just figure out the exact range you need to stay and hold a combo, since if you go too far, you'll get out of the combo and they'll be able to hit you back. But if you get too close, they'll be able to hit you back anyway, since you'll obviously be in their hit range. I'd highly recommend playing on servers like PvP Land, which have bots you can face to practice the timing of your block hits. They're super chill since they don't ever turn after you combo them, and you also don't need friends to practice with. You know, it's always been the hardest part, you know, finding someone to like combo or whatever. Going back to pot instead of depressing you guys, pearls are super important to take your gameplay to the next level. Pearls can be used in many different ways, the main ways being to pearl after an enemy who is running by throwing it at their back. Also, side pearling is another way you can pearl. Usually this is done if you are in a combo yourself, which not only will get you out of the combo, but will help you combo them yourself. The last few tips about pot I will say is to pot conserve as much as possible. Like dude, if the enemy literally just sneezed on you last fight and you're down less than 4 hearts, resist the urge to pot. Since you got like 13 billion pots in your inventory, every little piece of health matters. If you constantly are potting for 3 hearts and your opponent's potting for 4 every time, your hearts will add up way less and you'll be behind a lot by the end of the fight. Yo, quickly I would like to touch on a random tech called hit selection. It doesn't really fit in any of the games here as it's mostly used in sumo, but it can be very powerful if done right. The idea is to stall your hits so you hit your enemy second. This will lead your opponent into taking KB after you, so by the time you finish being knocked back, they will still be in the air, ready to be comboed. It's extremely powerful if timed right, as you can get crazy double hits and win lots of trades, which is why it's so common in sumo. The only issue is it takes a ton of skill to do well, which is why people usually just swing constantly to try and get the first hit in pot and in most games. Trying to time your hits after theirs is super risky and will usually end up getting you comboed instead of them, which is obviously not very good. If you can manage to master hit selection though, you will be an absolute god in both sumo and in other games if you manage to implement it. I'll mostly be talking about Bedwars, but I'll mention some stuff from Skywars as well. Again, I am the yellowbed in Bedwars, so the first thing you need to do to be a Bedwars god is queue onto yellow team. If you're on any other team, just leave as it's already a loss. Okay, for real though, understanding the order of teams and who to rush first is super important. The biggest mistake I see most players make is not having game sense and relying on PvP skill alone. Remember, it's Hypixel, you don't have to worry about being good since everyone sucks. The biggest tip I can give you is to learn which maps to side rush, diagonal, or diamond rush on. If you rush the wrong way, you'll probably get roasted by all the 30 stars in game chat, and that's honestly more embarrassing than losing the game itself. Going further though, W tapping is so important in Bedwars because of how it works. I talked about this earlier in the pot section, but just know that W tapping or sprint canceling in general will send your enemies flying, which can help you knock them into the void much easier. Okay, the next few tips will seem kinda scummy, but it's part of the game, okay? We only accept winners on the Yellowbed channel, so you better win alright, okay? But yeah, if you see some dude on Lunar that went to a random word generator and replaced a vowel with an X and then added ing or ly at the end, you probably should watch out for them. For some reason, 14-year-olds in the Minecraft community love doing this for their names, so my tip is to rush in their direction first so you can get them out as soon as possible. Again, the main takeaway from this should be to target the people that seem better, but don't cross-map them. One thing that will get you totally destroyed is cross-mapping, as people get really toxic about that and they will call you out. So just make sure to rush cleanly around the sides and don't cross-map, as you will get absolutely destroyed by the people next to you. This is how I use strategy to win Bedwars though, and the purpose of this video is to learn how to PvP like a god. The main thing you need to learn how to PvP like a god in Bedwars is to be able to use high ground and low ground effectively. Another weird thing Bedwars players love to do is stack up up to the skybox for literally no reason. Like when in doubt, these 5-foot dudes try to seem 6 foot by stacking up and then just chilling up there for a bit. This is super annoying since if you pass them, they'll just get down and you'll end up bed trading. But if you stack up to them, they'll keep going up and then they'll jump on you suddenly, which basically guarantees you die. You see, in Minecraft, you can only damage people when they aren't red from taking damage. For some reason, I couldn't find how long this quote-unquote red damage thing lasted for. For this period of time, you're literally invulnerable as they're currently taking damage and knockback from another attack. These quote-unquote invincibility frames work amazingly for people on high ground, and is a huge reason why high ground is so important in Bedwars. If you're 10 blocks above someone's base, if you jump down and break both your ankles, you'll basically get a half a second window to get a free combo on them. If you combine these quote-unquote invincibility frames with my past teachings and W tap after getting your first hit, you can easily set up a combo on someone and potentially even knock them in the void without them touching you a single time. Going back to my point from earlier, this is why high ground is so essential and why it's so annoying to play against someone that's holding high ground. Because unless you manage to hit them on the way down, which is fairly difficult, let's be honest, they'll tank the fall damage and combo you off instead. To counter these annoying high ground campers, try to build up from farther away and then get to their height and then bridge over. Or even better, okay, Bedwars viewers, just get ready for what I'm about to say. Use ladders. Okay, I know. There's this weird stigma around ladders for some reason. Literally every big Bedwars YouTuber makes fun of them, and I get it. They're seen as overly sweaty since it was popularized by ranked players, and they're really annoying to play against. But hey, if some dude's willing to stack up all the way to heaven just to bed trade, I'm doing whatever I want, man. Really though, ladders are insanely good against people stacking straight up for two different reasons. The first one is that stacking up with blocks goes almost the exact same speed as someone climbing with ladders. So as long as you're close when they're stacking up, you'll be right behind them as they go up. Secondly, you have both the low ground advantage and the knockback resistance of a ladder. Low ground is obvious though, you should already know this hopefully, but if you're currently living under a rock, you have better reach when being below someone since your attack comes from your face so you can hit their feet, all while they can't even reach your head. Anyway, going back to the other part, the knockback resistance, ladders are terribly designed. If you crouch on a ladder, you basically don't move at all. So as you climb, not only will you be right on them at all times, but if they jump on you, you basically win every time since ladders are busted in bridge fights.
So when do you recommend to use ladders?
Well, when you're falling, it's really nice because then you don't take fall damage.
Yeah.
But also on bridges, it's really good because you take no knockback. And when I mean no knockback, I mean literally sometimes it's anti-KB.
All that being said, that is essentially how to win Bedwars. Just try to know which players are good and go for them as soon as possible. Make sure to rush right away and use high ground and low ground to your advantage. Also, I'm too lazy to talk about Skywars because I don't know as much about it when compared to Bedwars, but I will go over a few things I've learned so far. When playing, just rush mid and normal. Whether you go disco, armor, or farmer, just go mid as quickly as possible, as basically everything you'll ever need is there, as your spawn island probably just has 8 snowballs and some enchanting bottles. Same for insane mode though, except you should probably loot your whole island for at least some armor. Another thing is to only go knight or scout, or else you'll automatically lose since knight does tons of damage and speed is OP. Basically, to conclude this video, practice W tabbing and the new better block hitting I talked about. Also, in rod PvP, learn how to rod trick as well as how to infinite rod. Lastly, learning game sense in Bedwars by learning who to rush and where to rush, as well as getting used to fighting these 7-foot basketball players is really important. I think that's gonna do it, gamers. If you made it this far, please comment if you'd watch a normal commentary where I just play Bedwars or something. Can actually post more consistently with that. Alright gamers, I'll see you guys next time.